From his astounding professional record to his life-threatening day job, these are why fighters are really scared of Stipe Miocic. If you've been following the UFC heavyweight division, you'll know that there's one name that can send shivers up the spine of any man brave or foolish enough to face him. And that name is none other than Stipe Miocic. Stipe has been dominating the heavyweight division for 10 years, and over the course of his career, we've seen him put on some spectacular and terrifying performances. Now, there's a bunch of reasons why a heavyweight contender might want to think twice before calling out the former two-time heavyweight champ. One of them is his astounding professional record as a fighter. As it stands, Miocic has a whopping 20 wins to his name. That number dwarfs the almost insignificant 4 losses that blemish his record. When you're fighting in one of the most cutthroat, hard-hitting, and deadly divisions of the world's most competitive MMA promotion, you'd be lucky to make it out of one bout with all your teeth still in your mouth, let alone leaving the octagon victorious. While Stipe's record is definitely impressive on its own, the numbers hold more than first meets the eye. Miocic has set 2 records with his devastating performances, the first being that he holds the record for the most wins in heavyweight title fights in UFC history. And he's competing against some of the best fighters the world has ever seen, such as Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, and Daniel Cormier. But that's not all. Miocic holds the record for the longest title defending streak in the heavyweight division. Over the course of his 2 title reigns, Stipe defended the belt 3 consecutive times. The fact that it only takes 3 consecutive title defenses to hold the record should tell you something about how precarious being the heavyweight champ can be. You never know when some giant, muscle-bound man is going to burst onto the scene and come punch your lights out. And Miocic has been competing with these savages for 10 years. That alone should tell you he's a dangerous man. Now, another aspect of his record that isn't immediately obvious is that Stipe has many victories over some of the highest caliber competition the world has ever seen. I mean, let's be honest. We've all heard of the term padded records when a fighter has a seemingly impressive professional record with a ridiculous number of wins and very little losses, maybe even no losses. But a padded record means that they've been fighting low-quality competition, fighting less experienced, less qualified, and lower-ranked fighters just to boost their numbers and make themselves look good. Many boxers have been accused of using this method to pump up their stats and maintain their undefeated status. Well, when it comes to Miocic's record, let me assure you, no padding is required. Throughout his career, Stipe has never shied away from an opponent, and as a result, he's fought the best of the best in his division for 10 years, with victories over the likes of Daniel Cormier, Francis Ngannou, Mark Hunt, and Junior Dos Santos, just to name a few. You can see that the caliber of his opponents is the highest to be found in the sport of mixed martial arts. So, if any fighter is feeling cocky, or wondering if the former 2-time champ is really about that life, they only have to look at who he's put to sleep to know that he's the real deal. Speaking of whom he's put to sleep, did you know that if you take a closer look at Stipe's record, you'll see that from January 2016 to May 2017, he fought 4 times, winning each bout within the first round via devastating knockout. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. If I was a heavyweight contender thinking about fighting him, that terrifying and dominant streak would definitely make me think twice. Now, if you ever run into Stipe on the street, you'll quickly realize another reason why any fighter might want to avoid him. Watching fights through a screen can often be deceptive, and sometimes we don't realize the true size of the fighters. Miocic stands at a staggering 6 feet and 4 inches tall. And weighing 240 pounds, the guy is an absolute giant. Considering the upper limit of the heavyweight division is 265 pounds, I think he might be pushing it a little. And at that weight, fighters tend to become slower and less versatile. But Miocic? He moves around the octagon with ease and skill. And if you want to get an idea for how big the guy is, watch any of his fights and you'll notice how much smaller the octagon appears to be while he's in there. Speaking of skill, Arguably, Stipe's most terrifying quality is his insane versatility as a mixed martial artist, and I mean it. This guy is just as lethal on his feet as he is on the ground. Now, if you know anything about him, that shouldn't come as a surprise, as prior to his MMA career, Miocic was a Golden Gloves boxing champion, as well as an NCAA Division I wrestler at Cleveland State University. If you have any doubt about his elite-level striking skills, just take a look at his bout with Fabricio Verdum. At UFC 198 back in 2016, in a perfect display of high-level boxing, Miocic was able to secure a devastating first-round knockout, landing a brutal right hand in Verdum's jaw that sent him straight to sleep, all while moving backwards. I mean, it doesn't get any higher level than that. Watching the fight, you almost have to feel sorry for Verdum, rushing forward like that. He must have thought that he was about to secure a finish, but little did he know that he was dealing with a different kind of animal. But as I've just mentioned, Miocic isn't just deadly on the feet, but also on the ground, and there have been times where his background in competitive wrestling have definitely come in handy. Take UFC 220 in 2018, where Miocic faced off with the terrifying Francis Ngannou. Despite a weight difference of almost 20 pounds, after the first round, Stipe was able to manhandle his opponent, seemingly taking him down at will and putting an unbelievable amount of pressure on the much larger Francis. During that bout, he proved the importance of strong grappling skills, with a unanimous decision victory which truly proved him to be the superior fighter at the time. If I was a contender in the heavyweight division, I'd steer clear of a guy who can shut someone's lights out with a brutal right hand, but also ragdoll me if he wants to. While all of these reasons to avoid Miocic have stemmed from his performances inside the octagon, the former champ's personal life and current day job should definitely be on the mind of whoever is trying to fight him. Outside of the UFC, Stipe works as a part-time firefighter-paramedic in both Valley View and Oakwood, Ohio. He has aspirations of becoming a full-time firefighter after he retires, and he's mentioned in interviews that he continued to work even when he was the UFC champ because he wants something to fall back on when his career is over. The rigorous training that the role requires, as well as the life-threatening nature of the job, adds another layer of depth to the mindset of the former champ. Knowing the level of fearlessness required for that job only makes the guy 10 times scarier. I mean, if you're prepared to risk your life running into a burning building, do you really think you're going to be scared to step into the cage for an MMA fight? I'd definitely reconsider fighting a guy who wants to retire from MMA, that's all I'm saying. Miocic is ranked number 2 in the heavyweight division, and he's earned that ranking for very good reasons. Reasons that should be on the mind of anyone brave or foolish enough to step into the octagon with him. So there you have it, folks. From his astounding professional record to his life-threatening day job, that is why fighters are really scared of Stipe Miocic.